Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, Taicho X. We're about to jack in. No, seriously. Yeah, continuing off the welcome video, we're just going to jump right into it. I mentioned we're going to use data and analytics as a driving theme for the anime and manga genre. And to kick it off, what we're going to do is start by creating a One Piece database. Yeah, so essentially, we're gonna start from scratch. I'm gonna do a little bit of a demo. Full disclosure, I am by no means an expert or the best at what I'm about to display. I kind of just enjoy doing it on the weekends. Cool passion project, side project, whatever you want to call it, that I thought would be pretty neat to share with other anime manga enthusiasts, as well as anyone who might be interested in learning a little bit of data and analytics. So with that being said, let's just kick it off, right? So, and also another disclosure, I have pre-written these scripts, so I will be going from looking at one camera to the other camera. Right, so we're going to be using Python for the beginning part of this. We're going to use some cool web scraping packages called Beautiful Soup, and what that's going to allow us to do is go and get some data that's out there. Alright, so let's jump into this. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to kind of put our little name up here so we know whose script it is. If you're not familiar with programming languages, the hashtag and the green font means it's essentially disabled, so it's not really running, it's just kind of text that's out there. First thing we always want to do when we set up is we're going to import some packages. And yes, Taicho X, my NetNavi, will be accompanying me on this journey and helping us out, so we'll see what he has in store for us as we progress. Okay, so the first couple packages, if you don't have them downloaded, or you need to download them, you can just do pip install and that'll give you all the packages that you need. So the first one we're going to do is URL lib. You need to get the request. This is going to allow us to access different HTML sites, URL parse, and then URL lib error. These three packages will allow us to access HTML or websites, access the HTML behind the websites, parse that into readable language or readable data for us, and then also we'll be able to handle different errors if we encounter them. Okay. To do that, we're going to have to be able to actually open it, open the HTML or open the website to get that HTML data. And then we're going to get Beautiful Soup, and that's from the higher package BS4. We're going to do SSL. This is going to also help us handle some errors if we encounter them, and just kind of allow the program to continue moving forward. Import RE, regular expressions. I know there's different sentiment about avoiding regular expressions and whatnot, but for me, kind of just doing this off the cuff, this works. It's not the best, as I say, but if you do have any suggestions on how to go about making this better, that's definitely what the comment section is for. Love to hear other people's opinions, ideas, experience, thoughts on this as we move forward. And then from there, we're going to get pandas, because we're going to be working with data frames. We're also going to need to import the string package, punctuation. I forget exactly what I was using this for, but I know we'll need it. And then we're going to bring in some other ones that will enable us to do some cooler things later on. This is PYODBC. ODBC connections allow you to kind of interface with other programs outside of it. And then we're going to import this time function just to see how long certain things run. So this one, Cool. So those are the packages we'll be using. So take a pause. How I got exposed or learned web scraping and such. I actually took a course years ago, Python for Everyone. It was on Coursera. It's a Michigan course. It was a great introduction to the Python language, getting you familiar with the different data objects, some algorithms, and web scraping was a big part of it too. Because it's pretty neat. You can essentially go from having nothing to having data. You just need to be very conscious of the websites that you're web scraping. Private stuff you really shouldn't be going out and get, but the sites that we'll be scraping from should be okay. And if not, we're in the undernet, baby, so we do what we want. Cool. So the first thing I usually do is we're going to use this. We're going to define a function. This is something I actually got from the Python for Everyone course. Basically, when we bring in the HTML data or the website data, it's going to be not pretty, so to say. And so we want to be able to handle different character types or just different, I would say different character types so that we can remove them, clean it up, and have data that's pretty readable without having to do a bunch of manual cleaning. So essentially what this part here is, it's going to handle a different type of characters, different symbols and such, and it's really just going to replace them or substitute them with a blank space. And it's going to take the input variable that we put here, redefine it, take that, clean it up. We have to make sure that the encoding is correct, so I'm going to add this other clip here. And I'm going to do my best to explain everything that's here. I will definitely miss some key parts because I'm getting, this is kind of like my first demo with this type of work. My first time video recording this type of stuff. So if you want further explanations, just ask questions. I'll try to address them to the best I can, and we'll go from there. So I'm just going to continue writing this function. That'll be super handy for us. There's my speaker. Cool, so now we have this function, this generic function. Sometimes we'll use it and work well, sometimes it won't work super well, but it'll get us halfway there. But it's a decent starting point. If you have ways to improve it, definitely let me know, because I'd love to be able to do that. Okay, so now we can actually start the fun part. So how are we going to actually get this data to create a one-piece database, and where should we actually start? Well, I think the best way to start is broad and then move narrow. So when we think about stories in general, manga, comics, whatever, I would say the highest level in terms of the structure is going to be the sagas, and then we have arcs, and then within those arcs we have different chapters, which correlates to different episodes, and each one of those chapters and episodes you have different characters and all that stuff. We're going to start at the very top with the sagas and the arcs. I'll see how much we can get into this video. I don't want it to be too long, but that's where we're going to start. And our starting point is going to be maybe a website some of you guys use, maybe not, but, and I'm just going to copy and paste this. Okay, so we're going to fandom. Good things only at fandom. Cool, so here at the One Piece fandom, there's different stories. And also, let me know if you guys, if this is interesting enough, if you think we should adapt this for other anime or manga out there, maybe Naruto, Bleach. We can go to old school Yu Yu Hakusho, Inuyasha, Dragon Ball. We can have a classic database compared to the new database. If you guys are interested in some of the newer ones like My Hero, Black Clover, we can definitely do stuff like that. And even get out of the shonen genre. Let me know what you guys think. Cool. So yeah, this is the One Piece wiki, and it has a bunch of different information on it. I'm gonna be very careful what I click on because stuff can blow up. But this is like a main starting point. You see over here they have episodes, One Piece, manga, they have the chapters, all this stuff. But really what I want to add on to this, because I forget how to navigate to it exactly, but this is where we want to go. This is not where we want to go, because I have two of the wikis. Let's see if this works. This is still not where we want to go. Alright. Now I'm just going to copy paste. Cool. Alright, so this is going to have the story arcs, and within the, above the arcs we have all the sagas. It has it over here in this content section, and then it also has it down here in this table. And this is where we're going to be grabbing a lot of information. So you see if I hover over it, it gives us the hyperlink to be able to travel. So that means that we can actually go in and scrape it. Okay. And before we do that, so I'm going to do a little bit more programming. So let's say, I'm just going to, so I call this starting URLs. So we're going to need the URLs. We'll call this main URL, https dot I'll call this story arcs HTML, and it's essentially going to be the same thing. But we're going to put some more onto it. The story arcs, and that should work. Okay, I'm sorry. So we'll have this, and we actually want to open this. So this is what we're going to want to open. So this URL open function will take this URL that we provided and actually open it as if it was a human browsing to that website. Okay. And what I'm also going to define up here are some list objects that we're going to use. Lists are very, very practical and very valuable. Probably the most important, one of the most important data objects, because it allows us to access different hierarchies of data, stores them in a nice format, very iterable. They are able to contain not only data frames or other objects, but they contain like other lists as well, so you can have a list of lists. But yeah, if you're not familiar with lists too much, I recommend looking into them because they're very great. So I'm going to define two lists. I'm going to have a saga link list. Use the brackets, we're going to have an arc link list. So I know I said we're going to start with the sagas, but maybe we'll start with the arcs, maybe we'll start with sagas. Either or, those are going to be the two big things that we tackle first. Alright, so we have this here. And okay. Now that we have our packages, we know what packages we need to import. We have our function that we're going to use that's going to help us clean data, the HTML data that we bring in. We have our two main links here, and we have two lists defined. Now we need to actually figure out what we're going to scrape, or how we're actually going to do that. And the way you do that with HTML is if you were to right click here and go to inspect, this will bring us to the HTML that's actually driving this website. So right now we're just kind of like interacting with the front end of the website, but this is the actual back end code. It looks like rubbish, but really what we're going to be looking for is different things that are called attributes, and different attributes have classes, so that'll help us with what we're trying to do. So I actually redo that and I put it on here. We're looking for these, we're going to look for tags, different tags which have different attributes, which have different attributes of different classes. I believe that's the best way to explain it. But what we're looking for is this href kind of tag. And if you see here, it has the link to the chapter or the link to the arc here, and it also has a title here, category. And all these clips here, or these cuts, are data that we can grab and clean and put into a nice neat format, because right now you can see it's really messy. But and there's Taicho, he's coming in to help us assimilate this data so that we can complete our database and move forward. But yeah, so we're looking for these href tags, right? Because this will give us links. Again, we have the titles, and it'll also give us information on like the arc structure. So right here we see Romance Dawn arc, 1 to 7 chapters, chapter 1 to chapter 7, very beginning. Luffy, Shanks, Lord of the Coast. 7 chapters, not that much content, very short arc. But yeah, so this is what we're going to do. Now, if we look at it from a programming perspective, so I'm going to call this, and I'm going to title this, say, we're looking for the A tags, with attributes, href, and specifically what we're going to narrow down, we're looking for wiki in the text. We'll be able to search for that specific text within the attributes, the href attribute of the A tag. Cool. Alright. So first thing we're going to do that, we're going to define a variable called soup, and we're going to use the beautiful soup function. We're going to feed it the story arcs HTML, which is what we gave the command to open. So essentially, beautiful soup is going to open this, and within it, we're going to use HTML parser. So that's going to take all that HTML data up there, or scripting, and parse it into a way that we can manipulate it better. And then from there, what we're going to do, we're going to write a quick for loop, or a for loop. That's going to iterate over data. For loops allow us to essentially, this is why computers are a lot better than humans, because if it was me, I'd have to manually go in and run the same thing 1,000 times, but changing the arc name or the story name. The for loop is going to be able to do that for us very quickly, essentially running the same command multiple times, but just iterating through a variable that we defined. Okay. So what I'm going to do is for link in soup, dot find all. We're looking for the a tag and the href attribute, regular expression, use this compile function. We're looking for like this specific text versus wiki. Alright, so we wrote a quick for loop, and it's going to use this find all function. So the find all is, so let me take a step back. We defined the soup variable, which takes the open link and parses the HTML script. Then from there, we say for link, and I'm just creating this up because essentially what we're trying to do is grab a bunch of different links. In this variable, find every a tag in the HTML parsed, in the parsed HTML that has the href attribute in this, and in that href attribute, look for this specific text string. Okay, so we're going to tell it to do that. I don't know why it didn't give me the. Let's see. Am I forgetting something here? For link and suit.find all. Let's go. Get another parentheses around this. This parentheses. This one to close this. Okay. So because there's going to be like a bunch of different, like this href is going to bring back like this wiki syntax, and we're looking for both sagas and arcs. I'm going to use an if-else statement to search for either or. So I'm going to tell it to look for, basically I'm going to give it a command and say, hey, if you find the above conditions and it has the word arc or it has the word saga, then do this. And that'll help us go a long way. So if href, so if that href is in the attributes, then I'm going to do another one. Basically I'm saying if you find that and then you find this, and bear with me because I wrote this script like a few months ago, and I'm just getting around to making videos. Okay, so basically I'm telling it to just give me these sagas. And now what I'm saying is I'm defining a new variable just called URL, and basically it's going to take this URL, this string that we defined up here, the main URL, and it's going to concatenate or combine the href tag that it finds there, or the href attribute that it finds. And this is what will give us a bunch of different links for all the different sagas that we get. And then after that, since we have our Saga link list, which is just an empty list, we want to add to that. We want to add two things. Link.get. So that's one thing, and then we want to do, this is an if else. So basically, we're looking for both things. So if else, and I'm gonna have to take a pause soon to see how my camera's doing, recording time wise. Okay, so we want to just grab the arc hrefs, and basically want to do the same thing. So basically, it's looking for two things. If it finds either or, it's going to append these variables to the different list. Since we have two lists. Let's see if this works, and then we'll just print the outputs of these guys just to make sure everything's working right. Save this, see if this works. It might take a little bit of time. Ooh. Okay, so here we have two lists. This is not super perfect or super clean, but you can see that this outer bracket is defining the first list, and then within that outer bracket we have a link to a Saga, and then this is giving us none for no name, so something might be off there. Oh. Let's try this one more time, and that should give us something better. Cool. So it gives us the link, and then it's giving us the title. Link.get, and then you can get different things. So you can get the body of the link that is opened, the HTML that's open, you can get the title, but since we're looking for like specific sagas, and then as I mentioned before, this title attribute, we want to grab that, and that's essentially what it's doing here. So this is a cool or a decent starting point for us, and I'll take a break there, and I'll see you in the next video.